The earth rejects, from the grave you crawl, your name forgotten, a fate enthralled. The gods are silent, yet something speaks, a voice like rust, like graves, like teeth. Follow the blood and follow the flies, your purpose waits, where mercy dies.
Well, hi, hello, everybody. My name is Turk, and welcome back to the Grouch Couch. And welcome to the very first episode of our new solo TTRPG series of Mork Borg. Mork Borg is one of my favorite all-time TTRPGs, and I'm so excited to be soloing it and to be playing it along with you. So before we get into the shenanigans, thank you so much for clicking on this video and joining on this adventure. I want you to know that over the course of this adventure, you could leave comments down in the comment section of ideas and things, ideas of NPCs or even encounters or curses or omens, different kinds of things, and I will try to include them the best I can into the series moving forward. Also, I always do about 5 to 6 episodes per series, unless the first episode manages to hit 100 likes. So that is our goal today, is 100 likes. So do feel free to leave a like if you want to see more than that and you want to help out the show. And if you never want to miss an episode, make sure to subscribe, because we do all kinds of solo RPGs, reviews, and nerdy tabletop things here on the Grouch Couch. Lastly, as I play, I will do my best to describe and tell you about all the supplements and resources that I'm going to be using over the course of my solo play, so you can actually have them and get them if you decide to do your own version of your own solo play of Mork Borg. And there will be links to everything, best I can, down in the description to all the stuff I will be using. But Mork Borg has a lot of resources, and it's very cool. But if you do decide to use our drive-through RPG links down there in the description, it will actually help support the show. So thank you so much for doing that. Also, we got a Discord where you can share things and hang out with me, so do feel free to join it. All right, I think that's enough YouTube jibber jabber. Let's get into the fun and the meat and potatoes of Mork Borg. So here we are on Foundry. Foundry is a virtual tabletop, my favorite one of choice. You can actually get it and download it if you want to. I talked a lot about our character creation process and some of the supplements I'm going to be using in a Session 0 video. You can actually get a link to that card wherever and in description if you want to check out Session 0, but you don't need to enjoy the series. So first thing we got to do is talk about our character, the character that we're going to be playing. And I've always said that if you have a good, strong character idea, you can play any kind of solo TTRPG, especially if that character involves a story that you really want to tell. So what have I worked up? What are we getting into? Let's do it. This is Oryx Grimjaw. Now we have his beautiful token character art that was designed by our very own Grouch Couch artist, Children of Proteus. They're wonderful. They have their own comic book series that you could actually check out on their website, down in description as well. Wow, a lot of things in description today. Make sure to check out Proteus, and big thank you, Proteus, for making Oryx Grimjaw's art. We love it so much. Thank you. Oryx Grimjaw died, and the story we're going to be telling today is actually going to start as he's rising from a grave. He was brought back to life. Oryx Grimjaw's class is he's actually a skinwalker, is what they call it, which means that his soul is intertwined with something else. And I don't know what it is. It could be a god, it could be a demon, just something really powerful. Our souls are intertwined, which caused him to come back to life. He doesn't have very many memories, but I'm actually thinking as we play, his memories are going to start coming back to him. But the cool thing about our souls being intertwined is that this otherworldly being that is intertwined with our soul is actually going to be talking to us. It's going to be talking to us in the form of riddles and psalms, and it's going to be pushing us to go and do things and kill and go to these other locations and murder people and steal things. And I feel like Oryx Grimjaw, being so fresh-brained, he's kind of innocent and he's kind of frail and weak, but this otherworldly energy is just so strong within us. And so we're going to have to make checks to make sure the thing doesn't take over. And when it does take over, we actually have a special ability that we ourselves can take advantage of during combat. But also, this is our class character sheet here, the Cursed Skinwalker. The way that this works is that we can give in to our antithetical other advantages by reshaping our anatomy into its likeness. We shift our bones, which requires a single painful round, and then our armors and weapons are unusable. But one of the following stands ever at your existence's other side. And we got the flayed and dripping wolf. So we turn into this undead wolf-looking creature as this otherworldly presence takes over our body and shifts us into this other thing. So I don't know what this otherworldly being is, but that's the mystery. That's going to be one of our threads that we're going to be following as part of our story that we're getting into today. We're going to figure out what it is, why it's controlling us, and why we're so attached to it, right? Why it chose us. So we do have a couple of flaws. I'm sure you guys already read because it's been up there for a little while, but we can't use any kind of blade without hurting ourselves first. And also, we are cursed to share the nightmares of others. So whenever we sleep, we need to sleep really far away from anyone else. And we also have some kind of memory of being on the back of a plague cart, like when we died. So there is a plague happening in the world. And the other thing is that we have cat's eyes. You looked up at the birds for sign, scattered bones, spilled entrails for naught. But one day you saw your fate in the eyes of a cat lurking in the shadows. So we have perfect vision in darkness, but the light of the sun burns our eyes. Which is good because in this world, no one has ever seen the sun. But if something happens, we're pretty much always going to have a +2 DR or a -2 DR whenever we're doing any kind of presence rolls in darkness. And if we stare into the eyes of wild beasts, it lets us feel whatever they're feeling. Which is kind of cool to be connected to this otherworldly wolf and to have cat's eyes. So we have this beast master thing kind of going on. Now, for supplements, if you didn't watch session 0, there's actually some other things that I'm going to be adding in. I've been doing a lot of research over the past week since I recorded that video, but we're going to be using solitary defilement, which is one of the solo RPG rules. We're also going to be using solitary depths, a really cool thing that was created by Chocalypse, Chaos Apocalypse, really another cool YouTuber who does solo Mork Borg. Really cool stuff. Check him out if you want to, all right? Really cool stuff. So we're going to be using his supplement. There's another one called Alone in the Crowd that mostly focuses on doing solo things in cities. So if we ever manage to get to a city or a village, if we live long enough to get there, we're going to have a lot of roll charts to be able to use that as well. And I have the Dying Lands map that we're going to be following. I have it also on Foundry so we can move our token around the map as we go. And it's going to help us roll encounters and kind of just keep track of where we are in the undying world. One other thing I'm going to be doing on occasion, actually, is I'm going to be allowing GPT to send me riddles and psalms, acting as the otherworldly presence that we're going to have to dissect. So I'm not even going to be rolling on anything. I'm just going to ask GPT, like, hey, what psalm do we get in this situation from our otherworldly presence? And it's going to spit me out something, and then we're going to have to dissect it together. So that's going to be a lot of fun to have that involvement as well. Lastly, as you can see over here, I have a lot of Mork Borg material. I even actually have more coming in the mail. I am Mork Borg pilled right now, but Phyrextor is really important. If you want to roll your own or do your own solo stuff, Phyrextor is really important because it has rules to traveling, and it has a lot of roll tables that you could utilize and some that we're going to be utilizing today. All right. That's a quick little thing for you if you missed session 0. I also do want to say, I feel like I do solo TTRPG things different than everyone else. I feel like mine are a little bit more narrative driven, and that's because I love telling a story. That's what it's all about here. We're telling a story that I'm interested to tell. That kind of means I do a little bit more dialogue, and I do a little bit more, voices and stuff like that, but it's something that I really enjoy. And if you enjoy it as well, I hope that I inspire you to do some similar things in your solo series. But that means sometimes I do things and operate a little bit different. But at the end of the day, all that matters is that we're having fun together and we're telling an awesome story. Here in Solitary Defilement, whenever you begin your adventure, it suggests that you actually pick a number of milestones to actually achieve as you go throughout your adventure. They're kind of like threads when using Mythic 2E, if you're familiar with that. And every time we complete a milestone, we actually get to level up, and we get to get better, is what they call it in Mork Borg. So we're actually going to write down our 4 milestones first. The first one, we're going to learn about the powerful thing inside me. We must remember who I am. I must find a place to call home of some kind, somewhere familiar, somewhere safe. And 4 is, why must I be alone? I must find friends, find others, find somebody to talk to that isn't a crazed, powerful presence inside of my brain. Those are our 4 milestones to try and get through. Now that we have that all said and done, we need to begin the story. So, first of all, let's learn what the weather is as we're coming out of this grave, so we can paint a mental picture in our head, because that's one of the things I love to do. So rolling on the weather, winter frost, not at all what I was thinking. Okay, winter frost, we've got it in there. And I want just 2 descriptors to help me describe the scene, so I'm going to roll twice on the Chaos Portents, a 26 and a 67. 26 is die, and 67 is dark. Winter frost, die, dark. Okay. Now there's one last thing we have to do, and you have to do it in every... Well, I guess you don't have to do anything. But there's one last thing we must do, and that is to roll on the calendar of Nethribule. Because you see, the world trembles. One can feel it in ways sharp and subtle, mysterious and clear. One by one, inevitable events demand their place. Because the world that we are in is dying. The apocalypse is happening. Every day, we will roll on a chart. If we ever get a 1, it activates a misery. A misery is a psalm that comes true from the book of the gods. A psalm that has been read, a psalm that was found. These books, and as they've been read, they have slowly been starting to come true. And they're kind of cool because they're for us to kind of dissect in our own little way. And since we're starting out, I picture that Oryx has been dead for a little while and the world has been ending around him. So I picture that one of these miseries has already started happening. So we're going to start the world with 1, no matter what our roll is. So I'm just going to go on ahead and roll a d66 to determine which misery occurs. Psalm 4:3. Look to the west. Forth comes fire and a horde, and the kingdoms burn. Very good. So this means fire. Fire and ice almost, because winter frost and fire. Ooh. Now it's time to set the scene. The world is dying. The apocalypse is upon us. Giants have rose from the seas and rose from the ground. The serpents in the sky speak upon us. There are heretics that believe the world is not ending. There are false prophets. The dead walk among the living. No one has seen the sun for years. As the fires burn to the west, and the kingdoms are slowly rotting and burning away from the inside, the camera zooms down on a wintry frosted cemetery in a perpetual winter of cold. It is dark. They say those who go to the cemetery in the valley of the unfortunate undead never come back alive. They die there. They stay there. We see a hand emerge from a grave, pushing the snow and mud aside. A hand covered in blood as our scum rises from the grave. Confusion in his eyes. He turns back to see his own gravestone with his name, Oryx Grimjaw. We know who we are, but we don't know much else. Our cat eyes illuminate as we look around the cemetery. And as we do, we get our first psalm from this presence inside of our brain. What is it? And in our mind, we hear,
Ash to ash, grave to grave, you rise, but you are not saved. The world is dying, so take your place. Find the preacher with the hollow face.
The preacher with the hollow face. My goodness. Okay? I believe this is another milestone. Find the preacher with the hollow face. So this presence speaks to us, and Oryx hears it in his mind, and what is that? And he could feel it inside of him as he shakes it off, and his bones crack, and his skin moves back into place as he, grows back to the living. And he hears this voice, and he's like, the preacher. What? And the voice settles, and he hears nothing else. Just darkness. These words linger in his mind. He scratches at the inside of Oryx's skull like rusted nails. The presence inside of him does not explain. He fears it never will. As he shakes it off, we must move forward. We must escape the cemetery. As he checks his pockets, he realizes he has no food. We have no water. All we have is our warhammer that was buried with us for some reason. So it's time for us to make our first move, and we're going to call it a general adventuring move. We decide on what we're going to do, and we choose the stat that best matches, and we try to move forward. So the first thing we're going to do is, we got to escape the cemetery and see if we can find some food, because we need to have something in our pocket. We need to start collecting things and getting things so we could survive, because that's Mork Borg. We need to be able to survive. General adventuring move, 2d20. I think we'll call it our omens check, so we'll give it all a +1. So that is a dirty 20 and a 12. And at a difficulty of 12, that means that is a strong hit. So things go to plan. A great success. I did a playtest, and I died in the cemetery. So here's our map. We have the map of the dying lands. As we can see our token, we started here in the cemetery. Our goal is just to get to civilization, to see what's going on. And we have to find this hollow-faced preacher. So we're here in the Undying Land Cemetery, so we're just going to move one out. That means next, as we enter the next area outside of the cemetery, we kind of need to lay the scene. We need to figure out what's going on here in this hex. What's the word? On the outside of the cemetery. We're going to roll on geographical features. As we can see here, we got a D20, geographical features. That's a 2. So it's plains. Very nice. Oh, I also should say, as we step outside of the cemetery, we can see up here the distances shift no matter which way we're going. So if we ever try to come back this way, it might take longer to get back here than it was to leave here. So distances shift and paths between places warp. And each hexagon here represents D6 days of travel. I don't know how closely we're going to be following that, but the main road here is going to take 3 days of travel to get from this hex to this hex. And it's still our first day, but that means we need 3 days of food. So we need to figure out how to get food and stuff. And I want to roll to see if there's any kind of encounter as we are leaving the cemetery. That's the first thing. So our first day, first encounter, we're going to roll a D20 on this, determining the encounter section. That is a D20 NPC crowd. Okay, 7 is D20 NPC crowd. And I don't know exactly what that means, but the first thing that pops into my head is there are D20 people. I want to see how many people. 10. There are 10 people, 10 NPCs. Why? I'm going to roll 3d10 on the traits and features of this crowd. That is 5, 8, 10. The trait is blighted. The feature is more. And the discovery is 10, which is a clue. More is a tract of open land preserved for shooting. And we did say this was plains. Plains here in this square, this hexagon. So outside of the cemetery, it could be land that's preserved for training or battle training. And there are 10 NPCs who are regarded with contempt. Maybe there's some kind of prisoners that are out here training now, but it's going to lead us to a clue. I'm going to do a yes or no to see if it's a clue to do with one of our milestones. And it's so early, but I'm still going to roll for it. 2d20 clue. We got an 8, so that's an extreme no. So it's not a clue dealing with our milestones. I should phrase that better. It's not a clue dealing with the powerful thing inside of me. Is it a clue to deal with who we are? More pertinent, dealing with the current situation. Is it a clue dealing with the preacher with the hollow face? I'm going to call that likely, so we'll take the higher roll here. That is a 16 and a 9. A 16 is a yes because it's above 10. So in the yes or no here, anything above 10 is a yes, anything below 10 is a no. And if you get a 10 itself, it's a random event. So that's a yes. So there's something to do with the preacher with the hollow face here. And there are 10 NPCs that are training out here in the plains, right outside the cemetery. Maybe they're training here because in the description of the cemetery, it actually says that even though no one goes there, somehow bodies keep piling up there. So maybe these guys are training and killing things on the outside and just throwing the bodies over the cemetery wall. Okay, but what I need to know, can we just look around without them seeing us? So there's actually another table here for encountering enemies. If you see an enemy, that doesn't necessarily mean that they have seen us. And we don't know if these are enemies in the first place, but we can roll to see if they are later. But what we're going to do is an agility move. -3 difficulty rating if the enemy is preoccupied. And I'm going to say they are because they're all training. So they aren't really paying attention to us. Strong hit, they don't detect us at all, weak, and etc. So we'll call it a 12, which is normal, -3. We'll call it a 9. We're going to make an agility roll. All right, we have +1 to our agility. So that's good. 2d20. We got a 19 and a 12. So that's very good. So Oryx Grimjaw is hidden. Where is he hidden? Probably around like the fence and like some trees. There's like some bushes. And so he walks out. Hey, let's paint the scene here. On the outside, only to see, first, before we even paint the scene, we got to figure out what kind of things and creatures these are that are training. Because they don't have to be like humans. They could be, we don't even know. But it's got something to do with the preacher. Okay, random encounter. What are these? Rotted skeletons. Rotted skeletons. There's a bunch of skeletons that are out here training. What are they training against? Dusk gnomes. There's a bunch of little gnomes. There's a little bit of comedy and horror, I guess. Oryx steps out of the cemetery. The sky is dark and black. The darkness veil of the cemetery. As he steps out of it, he could see a little bit better. Oryx huddles in the gnarled, thorn-choking undergrowth. The rattle of bone and rusted steel fills the night. The skeletons march in rigid formations, their empty sockets glowing with some unnatural fire as they swing their swords and shoot their bows at tiny gnomes screaming for their lives. It's supposed to be a horror thing, but that's just too funny. But we have a yes on our clue, so I want to know if we see this preacher. We're going to roll a yes-no on presence, this hollow-faced preacher, and I'm going to call it very likely. That's a natural 20. Natural 20 is considered yes and, so that means we do see the hollow-faced preacher. And as the presence is going to speak to us again. At their center stands the preacher. His face is wrong. Not missing, not rotted, but hollow. A void where flesh should be, a pit where his eyes once looked upon the world. He speaks in a voice like dry leaves and snapping twigs, commanding his undead flock with whispered blasphemies. And then, the presence hisses inside Oryx's skull, a slithering thing of hunger and ruin. And it says,
Bone walks where it should be still. A puppet moves, but has no will. The hollow one, the broken spine, snap his neck and make him mine.
Good lord. The words slither through Oryx's rotting veins like venom, his fingers twitching with an urge he doesn't understand. Or perhaps he does. The preacher stands before him. The presence has spoken. He sees the preacher. He begins to plan. All Oryx knows now is this spirit and his name. He knows nothing else. So as it stands now, he must follow. There's 10 skeletons out there. They all have weapons. How am I supposed to kill the hollow-faced preacher presence? I made a quick character sheet. I just clicked this generate monster, change the name, change the description. So here's what we've got. This is our hollow-faced preacher. How far away, though, is he from us in these brambles? Is he 30 feet? We got an 11, so yes, but he's standing on something. Yes, he's within 30 feet of the brambles, but he's standing up on like this collapsing ruin. So we haven't been seen. If we can sneak around to the back of this ruin, maybe we can get behind the hollow-faced preacher and we can push him off the top of it. So we're going to roll 2d20 on agility again to sneak from the brambles to the back of the ruins. So we did get a 17, which means it's a weak hit, which means we succeed, but less well, or with some other consequence. So some other consequence. I want to roll on the chart to see if we can get some descriptors for this consequence, and I'm going to update our notes. Okay, chaos portents. Let's see. We got a 51 and a 59. 51 is Forsaken, 59 is Angel. Forsake Angel on a weak hit. Something we did not expect to happen. A Forsaken Angel. So it's like, does this angel come to us as we're sneaking to kill this thing and tell us not to? If it is an angel, here's what we could do. If it is an angel, what is its disposition against us? It's a D66. That is a 15. What? We got a 15, which is malignant, which is like malevolent. Malevolent is in the hands of malignant fate. So that's its disposition. Its disposition is that it's malevolent, having or showing a wish to do evil to others. But if it's an angel and it wants to do evil to others, is it... I'm at a little bit of a loss here because this means a lot. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to roll event focus, okay, on this Forsaken Angel. I'm rolling event focus. 11 is environment, event focus. So this Forsaken Malevolent Angel does something to the environment while we are sneaking around to the back of the ruins. Because first of all, we got a success. We are sneaking there. We aren't noticed, but something else happens. So I almost think it's malevolent, which means it's evil, which means what if it's with the hollow-faced preacher? Like they're like teaming up. So what if we sneak around to the back of the ruins. And there's like a little broken archway. We look through and we can see up some stairs. There stands the hollow preacher. And down from the sky comes this fucking angel, like... And it stands next to the hollow-faced preacher as he turns, and there's no face in his skull, but he looks at this angel that's just like demon-esque with like nasty black ichor dripping wings, and it speaks to the hollow-faced prince. But what does it say? Descriptors. 9538. Begin tide. Begin tide.
Begin the tiding ritual. Kill them all.
And I think it can't talk. It doesn't have a fucking face. But maybe it just nods sadly and shrugs, like as if it doesn't want to. And the angel's like,
I will do it myself. Are they ready?
And the hollow-faced preacher just nods. He's a little awkward, right? And the angel looks out to all the skeletons training. And it says,
It is time to begin the tide of blood.
And he like flaps his wings and rises up and begins to command all of the skeletons to grab their weapons. And he turns around before he goes and he says,
The armies must rise.
And there's just like this rush of blood, like this tide of blood that comes up from the ground and like begins to like take all the skeletons. What if they get into like a little boat in the tide of blood? There's like a river of blood that just takes them as they get in the boat, and it like pushes them down as the angel flies with them, and they head down the map. North, south, they head to the south. So as they leave, we step out from behind the shed. No, we don't, actually. We don't step out. We sneak up the stairs. We're going to roll agility again to get up behind him. That's, again, really good. We got a 15 and a 12, both successes. We sneak up behind him. Oryx is going to say, he's going to whisper before he strikes, and he's going to say, I don't know why, but I was told to kill you. And then he's going to swing his weapon at this thing. Easy hit. Call it a 12. We're going to be swinging our warhammer. If we get a 6, we can kill it outright. That would be good. We're going to swing our warhammer. We have a +2. 6. So we completely fail as we swing our warhammer against him. We've never swung it before. We just came out of a grave. We're super weak. We try to swing it, and we can't get it up, and he moves out of the way. And he looks at us with his face is awkward. It's got nothing in it. And he's got these robes. And we see just this hollow nothingness. Does he speak to us? Can he? Mentally? Unlikely? Unlikely, that's a 5. Because we take the lower roll on an unlikely roll. So that's a no. So then instead, he's going to attack us with a D4. Which means we're going to make an agility check. And again, we got to be 12. 15. So he tries to attack us as well. And he misses. We're at a standstill on these ruins, swinging back and forth as this river of blood has just went past. And we're trying to fight each other, and he's trying to hit us, and we're trying to hit him, and we're gonna go for it again because we gotta kill this thing. We're locked in battle now, and all we have is this warhammer. Okay, strength check. 14. That's finally a hit. 1d6. Fucking for 1. And he swings back at us. We're facing blows. He misses. Gives us another opportunity. At a 13. Very good. It's a solid 2. Is it 3? Can we get through this without taking any damage? No. Oh, no, that's a success for us. Okay, good. Yes, good. We're still good. Okay, we can do this. One last hit. Yes. 3 damage. We swing our final blow at him as it sucks that he can't talk. I like to talk during dialogue back and forth, but he literally can't. So every time he swings at us, he just gets closer to our face, and he's just like mad. All right, he has been slain. The hollow-faced preacher collapses. The sky grows a little bit darker, and his brittle bones scatter across the ground like spilled dice. His head rolls unnaturally. The void where his face once was screams without sound. The leftover skeletons not gone in the river of blood crumble to the ground. Their will was his, and his will is now dust. The world exhales. The silence is heavier than the battle. And then After they crumble, the presence inside Oryx's skull seems pleased. He can feel warmth, as if the presence is savoring the death of the preacher like a flavor that it's been longing for a long time. And then it says,
First the shepherd, now the flock. Bleed the stone and break the lock. Follow the road where shadows weep, where dead men whisper in their sleep.
oof. Okay, we got some things we gotta do. First, let's update notes. We have that now. So first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to check this thing's body because we need food. We need something. We're going to search these ruins as well, but we're going to first loot the body. We get 21 silver. That makes us at 111. Wow, very cool. Now, does he have, I want to roll again, but does he have maybe a minor or major treasure? 5 and 5. That would be a no. Now we're going to search around the ruins. So we're going to roll a presence just to search around to see if there's anything we could find in these immediate ruins. Maybe like some old crumbled up dressers or something. Might have something inside of them that can help us. Is there anything here? Likely. That would make it an 11, which is a yes. So ransack the room. We find the bony remains of a dog. There is still some meat, enough to sustain... Oh, God. Our first rations in Mork Borg Solo. Our meat rations of a dog. Well, it's... What do we have? We have 1 rations. Oh, no. Okay, so we search around the room, and then these words... I feel like Oryx is going to think on them for a little bit, like, okay, what does he mean? But we just rose from a grave. We're hungry. We're trying to figure ourselves out. Inside these ruins now, we're going to make a little camp, and we're going to eat. We have to. We're going to eat some dog meat. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. So we're going to do a camping, resting, and catching breath roll. Camping is DR12 presence. If we fail, something happens while we're camping. All right, so let's see. DR12 presence roll to camp, which is +0 for us. How does it go? Fail. No sleep for you. Something terrible is about to happen. The next attempt at resting after resolving whatever encounter ensues will be a 50-50 chance of either a strong or weak hit instead. So we'll be able to sleep better next time, but something happens to stop us from being able to sleep. Let's see what that is. Okay, so for this one this time, which by the way, I'm going to be using different kinds of books and different kinds of rolls for everything, just whatever I feel like I want to use at the time. So for this one, we're actually going to be using the wasting time, making noise. So after activity, the waste timer makes noise, has a 1 in 6 chance of revealing a danger. So this includes backtracking, resting, drawn out fights, smashing doors, etc. So for that drawn out fight, we could have done this as well, because that was like 4 rounds of nothing. But anyways, we're going to roll a d6 to see what happens. We got a 5. Resource used. Torch, lamp, oil in a dungeon, or food in overland. We are in overland, which means that even though we don't rest, we're still going to eat this dog meat. And even though it says used, does Oryx have the guts to even eat this thing, is my question. I'm going to call it unlikely on a 3d20. That is 2 low rolls, which means no. He doesn't have the guts to eat it, which means that he's just going to waste it. He's going to... Because he doesn't even have anything to light a fire with. So what is he going to just eat it raw? So he's just going to sit up against the ruins of this... the wall in the ruins. He's going to throw the meat on the ground because he ain't got the gumption to even eat it. And he's just going to sit there for the night listening to the sounds of the world, thinking about the fact that he's back alive and this presence is inside of him and he needs to figure out what the crap is going on. And we just killed somebody. Well, we killed a demon looking thing. So as we rest up against the block wall, we have completed one of our milestones, which was to defeat the priest with the hollow face. So I went on ahead and actually clicked our Get Better button, which gave us 3 HP, 1 strength, 1 agility, 1 presence, and 1 toughness. And we got a unclean scroll, or a sacred scroll, which is False Dawn, Knight's Chariot. So light or pitch black for 3d10 minutes. So we can actually make it bright or make it dark. I feel like since we killed the priest, the presence inside of us rewards us with this new power. Very cool. So we level up from killing this thing. And what I'm actually also doing is I'm keeping notes for every day. So we have our overall story, which just has our milestones in it. So I'm going to add in that we completed this one. So you've got this one completed, kill the preacher with no face, hollow face, whatever. And we have our whole day 1 notes are copied in here, which I'm going to keep forever to be able to reference back to everything that I typed up and everything like that. And if you guys are doing solo stuff, I suggest do the same thing. I've actually seen a lot of folks, they do, pen and paper everything with books, which I've ordered more stuff, and I hope to do pen and paper stuff in the future. But for now, this is what I have. So we're typing everything up as we go, and we're going to continue to do so every episode. Since we did a full introduction here on this episode onto what we're playing and how we're doing it, I think that is where we're going to leave our story. We had 1 encounter, 1 little bit of thing going on, which means when we wake up tomorrow, we get to roll and see if any more miseries happen and figure out what's going on with this presence inside of us. If you have some ideas for NPCs, things that might be connected, anything to do with the story, or any kind of encounters or anything else that you want me to slap into a roll chart to have a chance to roll on, please do leave them down there in the comments. And leave a like, because again, if this episode here gets 100 likes, then I'll make sure to do 10 episodes instead of the normal 5, and that could be a lot of fun. And at least 10 episodes with Oryx if he survives 10 episodes, which hopefully he does, because that was pretty good luck on that first little battle there. Yeah. Again, YouTube jibber jabber, you guys, make sure to hit the description for everything. Once again, big thank you to Proteus for drawing Oryx, our character, and thank you guys for watching. Really do appreciate it. I'm excited, and honestly, I kind of just want to keep playing, but take a seat on the couch. We'll see you in the next one.